She's not my problem. I don't treat charity cases. Let the kid's mom beg somewhere else. That was the sentence that landed in my courtroom like a brick through a stained glass window. I sat on the bench in Providence Municipal Court, with my hands folded, trying to stay calm. I have heard people lie. I have heard people yell. I have heard people blame everyone but themselves, but I had never heard a man speak about a child like she was trash on the side of the road. The defendant stood at the table like he owned the building. He was 44 years old, tall, sharp jaw, hair slicked back like he used a ruler. His suit looked like it cost more than most people's rent. His watch shined every time he moved his wrist, like it wanted attention too. He wore a smile that did not reach his eyes. The mother of the child sat behind the prosecutor's table. Her shoulders were tight. Her hands kept twisting a tissue until it looked like a rope. Every few seconds she swallowed hard, like her throat was full of sand. The air in the room felt heavy, not loud, not wild, heavy, like everyone was holding a breath at the same time. And I knew right then that whatever happened next would not just be about a hospital bill. It would be about what kind of people we choose to be when someone small and powerless is right in front of us. If you believe justice should be equal for everyone, you'll want to see what happens next. The bailiff stood tall beside me and spoke in a clear voice. Case 2026 TR 41872, the State of Rhode Island versus Grant Halden. I looked down at the papers, then up at the man in the suit. Good morning, Mr. Halden, I said. I'm Judge Frank Caprio. You're here because there are serious allegations about your conduct at Halden Harbor Medical Center. He gave a small nod like he was bored. Morning, Judge, he said. I hope we can wrap this up quick. His lawyer sat beside him. The lawyer was older, with gray hair and a careful face. He kept adjusting his glasses like he was trying to keep control of a moving train. I turned my attention to the woman behind the prosecutor. Ma'am, I said gently, please state your name for the record. Her voice came out thin. My name is Marisol Vega. I watched her hands. They shook, but she tried to hide it by pressing them together. Ms. Vega, I said, why are you here today? She took a breath. It sounded like it hurt. My daughter is here, she said. Not in the courtroom. She's at St. Agnes Children's Center. Her name is Lila. She's 7. I felt my chest tighten. She has a heart problem, Marisol continued. A bad one. The doctor said she needed treatment right away. Not next month. Not after paperwork. Right away. She wiped her face fast, like she was embarrassed to cry. I work nights at a bakery, she said. I frost cakes. I clean pans. I take extra shifts when I can. I don't have fancy insurance. I tried. I called everywhere. I filled out forms. I did everything they told me. She looked at Mr. Halden, and her eyes flashed like a match. And they still turned us away. I leaned forward a little. Who turned you away? She swallowed again. He did. Mr. Halden let out a quiet laugh, like the whole thing was a joke. I raised my hand once, calm, slow. Mr. Halden, I said, this is a courtroom. We don't laugh at people's pain. Do you understand me? He leaned back, still smiling. Sure, Judge, he said. I'm just surprised we're making a big show out of a policy. A low murmur moved through the gallery. I could feel it more than hear it. People shifting, people stiffening. I looked at him, steady. Today is not a show, I said. Today is accountability. That means answering for your choices. He rolled his shoulders like he was shaking off dust. His wealth was not just in his clothes. It was in the way he stood. He stood like rules were for other people, like the world was a door and he always had the key. The prosecutor, Ms. Delaney, stepped forward. Your Honor, she said, the state is alleging that Mr. Halden used his position as CEO to block emergency treatment for a child due to inability to pay up front. We also allege he attempted to pressure staff to change records after the fact. Mr. Halden's lawyer cleared his throat fast. Objection to characterization. I lifted my hand again. Counsel, I'm not a jury, I said. Let's hear what happened. We'll sort through it. Mr. Halden turned his head slightly and whispered something to his lawyer. Then he looked at me again, and his face said one thing loud, without words. "You can't touch me." Ms. Delaney called the first witness, a nurse named Tessa Lynn. A young woman walked up. Her scrubs looked plain and worn, like she came straight from a long shift. She raised her right hand, took the oath, and sat down. I spoke softly. "Ms. Lynn, tell me what you saw." Her voice was steady, but her eyes were tired. "Ms. Vega came in with her daughter," she said. "Lila was blue around her lips. She was breathing fast, like she was running, even though she was sitting still. She was scared." Marisol pressed the tissue to her mouth to stop a sound from escaping. Tessa continued. "The ER doctor ordered immediate care. We began, and then we got a call to stop." I looked up. "A call from who?" Tessa's eyes flicked to Mr. Halden. "From the executive office," she said. "They said the CEO wanted the case moved to financial review before any more treatment." Mr. Halden snorted. "That's not how it happened," he said. "Nobody stops treatment. We check coverage." I kept my voice level. "Mr. Halden, you'll have your turn. Do not interrupt." He put his hands up like he was innocent. "Fine," he said. "I'm just allergic to drama." The gallery made a sound again, sharper this time. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." Ms. Delaney nodded to the clerk. "Evidence number 1, Your Honor," she said. A large screen was rolled in. The courtroom technician turned it on. A simple email appeared, dated 2 months ago, with the subject line, "ER cost control, immediate." I read it out loud because I wanted everyone to hear it in plain words. "No non-paying emergencies are to be treated beyond stabilization. Any exceptions require CEO approval. Signed, Grant Halden." I looked over the top of my glasses at him. "Mr. Halden," I said, "did you write that?" He shrugged. "It's a standard business rule. Hospitals are not magic money machines." I nodded slowly. "A hospital is not a luxury store either." He smiled like he liked arguing. "And yet," he said, "we still have bills, Judge." Ms. Delaney stepped closer. "Ms. Lynn, what happened after you got the call?" Tessa's hands tightened on the edge of the witness chair. "The doctor argued," she said. "He said the child needed more than stabilization. He said she needed a procedure. Then Mr. Halden showed up." Marisol's eyes squeezed shut. Tears ran down, quiet and hot. I asked, "You saw him in person?" "Yes, Your Honor," Tessa said. "He came into the ER in a suit, no badge, no gloves. He didn't look at the child, not really. He looked at the computer screen." Mr. Halden leaned forward with a sharp grin. "I was there to manage," he said. "That's my job." Tessa took a breath. "He told the doctor to stop. He told us to discharge the child once she was stable enough to leave." The gallery's murmur turned into something closer to anger. Mr. Halden lifted his chin. "Judge," he said, "people show up with stories every day. If we treated every sad story for free, we'd close in a month." That was confrontation number 1. A small one, quick and sharp. But it cut. I kept my voice calm, but I felt heat in my chest. "Mr. Halden," I said, "a child struggling to breathe is not a story, it is a life. Speak carefully." He smirked like my warning was a fly buzzing. Ms. Delaney moved to confrontation number 2. "Your Honor," she said, "we have phone records and text messages from the night of the incident." "Proceed," I said. A new document came up on the screen. It showed call logs, then the texts, short, cold, direct, from Grant Halden to Dr. S. Rourke. "Stop anything expensive, transfer if needed, no freebies." Another text, 5 minutes later. "Document patient stable, get discharge started." Then another, "and make sure chart reflects standard protocol." I turned to Mr. Halden. "Did you send these messages?" His lawyer leaned in, whispering fast. Mr. Halden ignored him. "Yes," he said, like it was nothing. "I did. Because I'm not running a charity." Ms. Delaney's voice sharpened. And when the doctor refused, Mr. Halden leaned back, crossing one leg over the other. I told him, he said, if he wants to play hero, he can do it on his own dime. Marisol stood up suddenly, not yelling, but shaking. My daughter was dying, she said. She was holding my finger like this, like she didn't want to let go. The bailiff took a step, ready, but I raised my hand. Ms. Vega, I said softly, you're doing okay. Take your time. She looked at me like I was the only solid thing in the room. I begged, she said. I said I would pay anything. I said I would clean the hospital floors. I said I would work there for free. He looked right at me and said, her voice broke. She pressed the tissue hard to her face. Mr. Halden waved his hand. This is getting theatrical, he said. We're in court, not a soap opera. That was the authority challenge. He wasn't just insulting her. He was insulting the court. He was daring me to stop him. I leaned forward. Mr. Halden, I said, you are not the director of this room. I am. You will stop speaking like people's pain is entertainment. He smiled bigger. I respect the court, he said. I just don't respect being blamed for the health system. Then he did what powerful people do when they think they're cornered. He tried to use his name like a shield. My board knows the mayor, he said. We donate, we fundraisers. I can make a phone call and this whole thing goes away. The gallery gasped like one body. I felt my face get still. When I get still, people usually realize they pushed too far. You think a phone call changes what's right? I asked. He looked right at me. I think, he said, that's how the world works. Ms. Delaney brought in evidence number 2 fully, a printed screenshot of an internal hospital chat thread. It showed staff begging for permission to continue care. It showed one reply from an executive assistant. CEO says no further treatment without payment confirmation. I let the silence sit for a beat. Then I said, we'll move on, because I could sense there was more, and I could feel the room bracing for it. Ms. Delaney took a breath. Your Honor, she said, evidence number 3 is a video. Mr. Halden's lawyer stiffened. Your Honor, we object. On what grounds? I asked. Privacy, the lawyer said. Ms. Delaney replied, it was recorded by security in the ER waiting area. Faces other than the parties have been blurred. I nodded. I'll allow it. The screen changed. The video showed the ER lobby. It was late at night. You could see tired people. You could see a little girl in a pink hoodie slumped in a wheelchair. Her head hung to one side like it was too heavy. Marisol hovered over her like a shield. Then the video showed Mr. Halden walking in with 2 men behind him. He did not hurry. He did not crouch down to see the child's face. He walked like he was late to a meeting, not late to mercy. You could hear parts of the audio, not perfect, but enough. Marisol's voice, small and breaking. Please, she's 7, please. Mr. Halden's voice, flat. Do you have a card? Marisol, no, I have cash. I can, Mr. Halden, cash doesn't cover this, and I'm not approving a 6-figure miracle. Then the moment that made the room go cold, the little girl lifted her head, just a little, and whispered, Mom, I'm tired. Marisol sobbed in the gallery, silent but shaking. Mr. Halden watched the video like he was watching a commercial. Ms. Delaney paused the screen and looked at me. Your Honor, she said, this is where he made his final comment. She hit play again. Mr. Halden's voice, if she's dying, it's not my fault she was born on the wrong side of the insurance line. The room reacted like someone slapped it. That was confrontation number 3. The direct insult. Not just to the mother, not just to the child, but to the idea that life has equal worth. And then, in the middle of that tense silence, Mr. Halden decided to speak again. He leaned forward, eyes hard, and he said it out loud in my courtroom, in front of me, in front of everyone. He said the nuclear quote, Let's be honest, Judge. Kids like that are a bad investment. You save them, and they just grow up to drain the system. Viral moment. For about 10 seconds, nobody moved. Not the prosecutor, not the clerk, not the bailiff. not even the court officer by the door. It was like the whole courtroom got frozen in time. I felt my mouth go slightly open, then close. My face changed without me wanting it to. I could feel my eyes narrow, not in anger first, but in disbelief. Like my brain was asking, did he really say that? Then the gallery erupted. A woman in the back shouted, "That's a child!" A man stood up and yelled, "You're sick!" Someone else cried out, "Throw him out!" The bailiff raised his voice, "Order! Order in the court!" I lifted my hand high, firm. "Enough," I said, and when I said it, the room quieted, because people could hear it in my voice. I looked straight at Mr. Halden. In that moment, the case stopped being about policy, and it became about character. Act 3. The Reckoning. I leaned forward, and I spoke slowly, so every word would land. "Mr. Halden," I said, "you just called a child a bad investment." He started to talk. I held up my hand. "No," I said. "You've had plenty of time. Now it's my time." I paused. Then I said his name again, louder, so he could not hide behind the suit. "Grant Halden." He swallowed once. "Grant Halden," I repeated. "I want you to hear what you said, because sometimes people say cruel things and later pretend they didn't mean it." I looked at my notes, then back to him. "You said, kids like that are a bad investment. You said, she was born on the wrong side of the insurance line. You said, I'm not approving a six-figure miracle." I let those words hang in the air like dirty laundry. "Do you know what's different between you and that little girl?" I asked. He shrugged, trying to act calm. I answered my own question. "She didn't pick her body," I said. "She didn't pick her heart. She didn't pick what money her mother has. She didn't pick any of it." I pointed gently toward Marisol, not like accusing her, but like honoring her. "And that mother," I said, "she didn't come here to entertain us. She came here because she carried her child into a place she thought was safe." I looked back at him. "Grant Halden, do you know what people expect when they walk into a hospital?" I asked. He said nothing. "They expect help," I said. "They expect human care. They expect someone to look at them and see a person, not a wallet." His lawyer touched his arm, whispering, but Mr. Halden stared ahead. I continued, still calm, because calm can be stronger than shouting. "You sit there in a suit that costs more than some people make in a month," I said. "You wear a watch that shines like a small sun, and you used your power to stop care for a child who could not even lift her head." I leaned in more. "And then you came into my courtroom," I said, "and you tried to treat this court like a business meeting. You could end with a phone call." I said his name again, and this time it was not just a name. It was a mirror. "Grant Halden, humility means knowing you are not better than other people. Humility means you do not step on someone's throat just because you can." I looked over to Marisol. "Ms. Vega," I said softly, "how is your daughter today?" Marisol wiped her cheeks. "She got treated at St. Agnes," she said. "They did the procedure. They said we came just in time." I felt my chest loosen a little. "Just in time," I repeated. Then I turned back to him. "Grant Halden," I said, "your policy almost made just in time become too late." I watched him carefully. "Tell me," I asked, "when you watched that child struggle to breathe, what did you feel?" He stared at me and gave his answer like he was proud of it. "I felt responsible for the hospital," he said. "Feelings don't pay nurses." I nodded slowly. "No," I said, "but feelings are what make us human." I paused. "And I want you to remember this," I said. "When you call a child an investment, you're telling the whole world what kind of man you are." Act 4. Sentencing. I straightened the papers in front of me. "Here is what I'm going to do," I said, "and I'm going to do it in stages, because I want you to understand each part." Mr. Halden sat very still now. His smile was gone. "First," I said, "a financial penalty." I looked down, then spoke clearly. "Mr. Halden, you will pay a fine of $25,000 to the court. That is for abusing your position and for attempting to influence care through intimidation. His lawyer started to rise. I raised my hand. Sit down, counsel. I'm not finished. Second, I said, restitution. Restitution means paying back what was harmed. I turned toward Marisol. Ms. Vega, I said, what were your out-of-pocket costs because you were turned away? Ambulance, gas, hotel, missed work, anything you have receipts for. Ms. Delaney handed the clerk a folder. I looked through it. 4,160, I read. That includes a second ambulance ride, 2 nights in a motel near St. Agnes, medications and missed wages. I looked at Mr. Halden. You will pay Ms. Vega 4,160 within 14 days, I said. Not 60, not when your office processes it. 14 days. Mr. Halden's jaw tightened. Third, I said, your authority. I held his eyes. You are not a doctor. You are not a nurse. You are not allowed to play with life and death using a spreadsheet. I spoke the next part carefully. You are banned from entering any patient care area at Halden Harbor Medical Center for 1 year, I said, unless you are a patient yourself. You may not step into the ER, ICU, or any treatment wing. This will be enforced by the hospital board in court order. His lawyer whispered, Your Honor. I cut him off gently. Counsel, I'm not asking. Fourth, I said, community service, and it will match the harm. Mr. Halden blinked, confused. You will complete 300 hours of community service, I said. Not random hours, not sweeping leaves. I looked at the clerk. Schedule, I said. Write this down. I spoke it out loud so there would be no wiggle room. Every Saturday from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. for the next 50 Saturdays, I said. That is 6 hours each Saturday. Total, 300 hours. The gallery went quiet again, but this time it was the good kind of quiet, the kind where people lean in. And where will you serve? I continued. At St. Agnes Children's Center, I said, in the family support wing. You will not provide medical care. You are not trained. You will do support work. I explained it in simple words. That means, I said, you will stock supplies, push carts, clean waiting rooms, bring blankets, and help families find the right office. You will look parents in the eyes. You will hear their stories. You will learn their names. Mr. Halden started to speak. I held up my hand again. You will be supervised by the volunteer coordinator, I said. You will sign in and sign out. You will submit weekly logs to this court. If you miss even one Saturday without a medical emergency, you will come back in front of me. Fifth, I said, public accountability. I looked right at him. You will write a handwritten apology letter, I said. Handwritten. That means pen and paper, not typed, not by your assistant. I continued. You will write 1 letter to Ms. Vega, I said, and 1 letter to the staff members you pressured, including Nurse Tessa Lynn and Dr. Rourke. And you will also record a short PSA, I said. A public service message, 60 seconds. I explained what that meant. A PSA is a short video meant to teach people something, I said. In this case, it will be about respect and dignity in healthcare. I added conditions because his words needed a lesson. You will not mention donations, I said. You will not brag. You will not turn it into marketing. The PSA must be approved by the court before it is posted. Mr. Halden's face twitched. Then I addressed contempt because he had crossed the line with the nuclear quote and the phone call talk. Now, I said, we come to what happened in this courtroom. I paused and looked at him. Grant Halden, I said, you tried to treat this court like a place you could bully. You disrespected a mother. You disrespected a child. And you disrespected the idea that every person matters. I nodded once toward the bailiff. Bailiff, I said, step forward. The bailiff moved with calm control. Mr. Halden's lawyer stood fast. Your Honor, please. I held up my hand. Mr. Halden, I said, you are remanded for contempt. That means a short custody hold because you crossed the line in court. The bailiff placed handcuffs on him. The metal clicked. It was loud in the quiet room. Mr. Halden's eyes widened for the first time. Real fear. "Wait," he said. "Judge." 2 days, I said. 48 hours. This is not to destroy you. This is to stop you, and to remind you that this courtroom is not a playground for power. I looked at the clerk. "Review hearing," I said. "Set it for case review date, March 3rd, 2026, at 9 a.m. I looked at Mr. Halden as the bailiff guided him back. "And when you come back," I said, "I expect a different man." Act 5. Aftermath. Transformation arc. 56 days later, I saw the first report. It was not fancy. It was plain. It showed Mr. Halden had completed 7 Saturdays at St. Agnes. The volunteer coordinator wrote a note at the bottom. At first, he did not speak, the note said. He avoided families. He acted like he was above the work. On the 3rd Saturday, a father asked him where the coffee was. Mr. Halden pointed without looking. The father said, "Please, just look at me. I haven't slept in 2 days." Mr. Halden stopped. He looked. He nodded. He said, "I'm sorry." I read that line twice. Then, at the next review hearing, Mr. Halden stood in front of me again. No shiny smile, no relaxed posture. His suit was still expensive, but it looked smaller on him now, like it didn't protect him the same way. He handed the clerk a stack of letters. I watched his hands. They were not shaking, but they were not arrogant either. "I read your letters," I said. He swallowed. "I was wrong," he said quietly. "I said awful things." I waited. He looked at Marisol, who sat in the gallery with her hands still, like she was guarding her hope. He spoke to her, not to me. "Ms. Vega," he said, "I'm sorry. I acted like money was the only thing that mattered. I forgot what a hospital is for." He paused, then added softer, "I forgot what a person is worth." Final scene. Plumoral. After court ended, I stayed on the bench for a moment. The courtroom emptied slowly. The sound of footsteps faded. The air felt lighter, but my heart still felt the weight of what could have happened. In my mind, I saw that little girl in the pink hoodie. I saw her lips turning blue. I saw her small voice saying, "Mom, I'm tired." A court can punish people. A court can fine people. A court can even put someone in handcuffs. But the real goal, for me, is bigger than punishment. The real goal is to remind people that dignity is not something you earn with money. Dignity comes with being human. And if a powerful man can learn to look a struggling parent in the eyes, then maybe we all can too. Because the measure of a society is not how it treats the rich and loud, it's how it treats the small and scared.